Hey guys, Cameron back for the season finale of Doctor Who, Series 9, Episode 12, Hellbent, and holy shit, this episode. I could not wait for this episode. I mean, I've been looking forward to Doctor Who every week, but I cannot tell you, this was like the one episode that I've been looking forward to the most out of any episode this year. I mean, this episode, the cliffhanger we were left on last week, I had no idea was going to happen this finale, and I was totally fine with that. And damn, I mean, that just paid off so well. What a powerful episode this was. This episode was powerful, was emotional, was tragic, but it really was a perfect conclusion to a near perfect series. I mean, this season overall has been almost perfect, and I loved every minute of this episode. By far the best episode of the season, and I thought episode 10 was sad. That is nothing compared to this episode. This episode was a lot sadder. I will definitely get into that, but let's just get into this episode, which starts off where you're kind of like, what's going on right now? Because we're expecting to see the Doctor on Gallifrey. That's not how this episode starts, though. Basically, the Doctor walks into what looks like a diner from like the 1950s, and Clara is a waitress there. What? She's a waitress. She's behind the counter, though she doesn't seem to recognize the Doctor. The Doctor says he doesn't have any money, but offers to play his electric guitar. He plugs the guitar into Sonic's sunglasses. They talk about traveling. The Doctor strums his guitar. She asks if it's a sad song. The Doctor says nothing is sad until it's over. He tells her the name of the song is Clara, and she asks him to tell her about Clara, and what a perfect way to start the episode. There's so much uncertainty here. You don't know what's going on. You're intrigued to find out, and that is how you start an episode. I loved every minute of that. That was fantastic. So then we get to what we thought we were going to see, we thought this episode was going to start. The Doctor walks the red planet of Gallifrey. He comes to a modest building, and everything on Gallifrey was fantastic, I have to say, because the two parts of this episode meshed very well together. I mean, this episode was definitely not like last week's. It wasn't as confusing, but it still was confusing, and I thought they handled it very well. That mystery in this show is what makes this show so great. It's one of the things that makes this show so great. And, the president asks the general if all the bells are ringing. Gastron reports that the cloister wraiths are active and all the bells are ringing. This is a sign of great danger, and of course, you know, the Doctor is the hybrid, so that's probably the danger they're talking about. And Ohila, backed by the sister of Karn, says the Doctor has come back to the beginning, and obviously they know this is a bad sign that this has happened. So the Doctor looks around his stable. A woman finds him there and prattles on until she recognizes him. She warns the Doctor that they'll kill him. Now, a lot of people are speculating that this woman is not just a woman, she is his mother, back from the Warlord episode. I guess we did see his mother once. Now, I don't know what his mother looked like. Apparently, she committed suicide in that episode, but remember, the Doctor's gone back in time, so that could have been his mother, but just in a different universe. I mean, she's probably not his mother. She's just playing the role of someone else, and I think it definitely is very interesting. So I really think it's up to interpretation, but she does definitely act like his mother. I will definitely say that, because the woman serves the Doctor a bowl of soup outside where a crowd is gathered, and before the Doctor can take his first bite, Gastron arrives in an arm ship, orders everyone to step away from the Doctor. And again, I haven't really seen any Gallifrey episodes, so I don't know how big of a character Gastron is, but Gastron then orders the Doctor to return to him to the capital. The Doctor draws a literal line in the sand, returns to his soup. The President, watching remotely, wonders what his plan is. They decide the words are the Doctor's weapons, and they should be theirs as well. You know, any word the Doctor says, they're going to take as a weapon, and they're going to use that against him. So the General, backed by an armed contingent, arrives at the Doctor's home. He tries to be polite, but the Doctor simply goes back inside, and a diplomatic envoy fails similarly. And the President asks Ohila what if the Doctor wants revenge. Ohila says the Doctor doesn't blame Gallifrey for the Time War, he just blames the President. And you don't really know why the Doctor is back here. That's something I liked. Why is the Doctor back here? Is he here to find Clara? Is he here to right the wrongs? I mean, I was really wondering what he was going to do here. We know that, of course, he confessed that he left Gallifrey because he was scared. So I was wondering if he's going to fight. I mean, I really didn't know what was going to happen here. So the President himself is the next to visit the Doctor, backed by the General, another armed contingent, and the President offers the Doctor his hand. The Doctor drops the confession dial in front of him, orders the President off the Doctor's planet, and the President insists that they had to know about the hybrid and what the Doctor knows. The Doctor simply orders him away again, and the President orders the soldiers to fire at the Doctor. The General tries to talk to the President down, reminding him that the Doctor is considered a war hero, and they wouldn't be alive if it was for the Doctor, and I do agree with what the general's saying, that, I mean, the doctor was a hero, and the president persists and turns his back as the soldiers fire their weapons, and really crazy stuff. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen here. So I really love seeing that. So back in the diner, Clara comments on how the doctor likes a cliffhanger and how I thought that was kind of funny the way he said that, because, yeah, this show clearly likes cliffhangers, and I like the way the show kind of broke the fourth wall like that. So back on Gallifrey, every single one of the soldiers missed their shot. The president demands Gastron explain. Gastron tells the president of an old saying about the Doctor of War. By the way, keep in mind, this entire time, this is what the Doctor's telling Clara. He's recounting all these events, and the president demands that Gastron explain. Gastron tells the president an old saying about the Doctor of War from the Time Wars. He's the first to cross over to the Doctor's side, and the others follow, and basically at the diner, Clara asks if this is a story or if it just really happened. And the Doctor says every story ever told really happened. You know, every story did actually happen in some form. And I get what the Doctor's trying to say, that, you know, stories are based on personal experiences. They're not just based on a simple story. They're based on some personal experience or something like that. You have to relate a story from something, and every story comes from an author. Every story does actually happen. I definitely agree with what he's saying. I think it definitely is very interesting what he said there. So ships arrive, and the president thinks the general called for reinforcements. It turns out the Doctor is the one who called them, and the general tells the president to get off the Doctor's planet. The president heads off of Gallifrey. The general wonders if the Doctor went a little far, but the Doctor says he's only just started, and the high council's on the next ship. Now remember, the Doctor's just arrived, and he already feels like he's controlling this entire world. It's very interesting. So Ohila finds the Doctor observing the cloister race and wonders what about his motivations for sending the president away, because why would you send the president away? You know, he's the one that controls this society. Why would you send him away? And I was wondering, does the Doctor want to take over? And the Doctor meets with the general and the sister of Karn to find out what they know about the hybrid, and that makes sense why he's back there, because he wants to know about the hybrid because he doesn't really know what's going on. So they tell him that the hybrid's supposed to be a cross between two warrior races, Dalek and Time Lord, and of course, the Doctor knew this, and we'll stay in the rooms of Gallifrey. The Doctor asks for the use of an extraction chamber to talk to an old friend, and of course we know he's talking about none other than Clara, and this is when things get really interesting. If I was really into the episode, but here is where I was just like, okay, this is incredible. We get back on Trap Street. Time stops just before the Raven plunges into Clara, and the Doctor reaches his hand up from a bright door in reality and says he can save her. And of course, you know, they could have gone the route of, oh, she never died. That's not exactly what happens here. What happens is, I think, is a lot more interesting. And this entire thing is a lot more interesting because we were led to believe that Clara was killed by the Raven. But in this time, she's not. And Clara walks through into the extraction chamber. Clara says she should be dead, and the Doctor tells her to forget it. It doesn't matter. Clara is very confused, so the Doctor fills her in. The General says they only have a few moments with her. The General asks about the hybrid, but there's a ringing in Clara's ears, and she doesn't know where it's coming from. And the General tells the Doctor to tell her. He tells Clara that her physical processes have been frozen in time. And remember, this is supposed to be a billion years later. That's basically what we're led to believe here. So the General explains she died billions of years ago, and once they're done talking to her, she will be returned to the moment of her death. And that's really interesting that we found this out, the way they could do this. And the Doctor punches the General, takes his gun. The General tries to talk him down, reminding him that he could fracture time. And Clara tells the Doctor that she doesn't want this. She doesn't want to be reborn. Remember, she gave the Doctor that whole speech. Don't dwell on my death. Be the Doctor. And he's clearly not doing that. And he says, Doctor asks which regeneration the General's on. He says 10th. They wish each other. Now, people were a bit confused, I know, because I guess the General looked a lot different the last time we saw him. But they said that he regenerated, so I'm going to say that he regenerated. They wish each other luck. The Doctor fires. The Doctor takes them from the chamber, takes off with Clara. The regenerated General is joined with Gastron and Ohila. The Doctor takes Clara to the cloisters, where the cloister race guard the Matrix, and that was definitely very interesting. But then we get to this whole diner, because what the hell's going on here? I mean, Clara's there, then we're at the diner. What's going on? So at the diner, Clara asks what the Doctor took. He says to keep Clara safe, he had to erase some of her memories, specifically those involving him. And basically, the general orders every available man to guard the cloisters, and Gastron says no one is ever made out of the cloisters, but Ohila says that's not quite true. The Doctor and Clara come across a Dalek who is trapped in the cloister, a remnant of the cloister war. Clara comes across some weeping angels and a Cyberman, and I like that we saw basically everyone the Doctor's encountered with Clara. It was very, very cathartic. The Doctor pulls her away, says they must be close to the Matrix database, and the Doctor explains that when a Time Lord dies, their mind and memory are uploaded to the Matrix database to create prophecies and warn of oncoming danger. And they found a possible secret exit, and the Doctor's piecing together the code and telling Clara of how he escaped the first time. And Clara knows that the Doctor won't look her in the mind, and he tells her a little bit of what happened. She asks what happened to his velvet coat that was so doctory. He says he can't be the Doctor all the time, and that's true. I mean, one of the reasons that Clara died, and, one of the reasons this changed the Doctor so much is because she acted like a doctor. She wasn't acting like a companion. She's acting like the Doctor, and the Doctor finished his telling her the rest of the story as the General and Ohila arrive. The Doctor hints that he may not know anything about the hybrid, but is playing the Time Lords to save Clara. Clara demands that they tell her how long the Doctor was in his confession dial, and they tell her it was 4.5 billion years that he was in there. If you remember, that's how he got out of there. And this is when things get really interesting. Clara tells him that her time is up. She says people like the Doctor and herself should say things to one another, and she's going to say that now. Now, the thing about this is that not only do they tell her that, but they tell her that he could have gotten out there at any point if he would have said what they wanted him to say. So that's very interesting that we found this out. So basically, the camera pans away, and when we come back, Clara walks away from the Doctor. She tells the Time Lords that they're hiding away at the end of time because they're monsters and they're hated. So Ohila asks what if Clara told the Doctor. The only part she reveals is that she told the Doctor they'd all be looking at her. She doesn't tell her anything else. That's all she tells her. And the Doctor shows up with a fresh TARDIS and brings Clara inside. Ohila calls him out, calling him boy. She accuses him of breaking every oath and code he's ever lived by and giving Clara nothing but hope. And he argues that the universe owes him this and that hope is a good thing. And I definitely do agree with that. That's the one thing the Doctor's had all season is hope. And I think that's the thing that is the difference between the Doctor last season and the Doctor this season. Last season, the Doctor didn't really have much of that. And this season, I think the Doctor really does. So he takes off. The General asks where he's running to. Ohila simply says away, and the TARDIS flies off. The Doctor tells Clara that he thinks that she's fine and that now they just need to lose the Time Lords. Clara says she still has no pulse, and no matter what's happening, she can't feel her pulse. And the Doctor asks if she trusts him. She says not when he's shouting. The Doctor says when he's taking them the past the end of time, where the Time Lords won't follow, because obviously the Time Lords are after him, and he doesn't want them to be after him, and the only way to do that is to get away from the Time Lords. So she still doesn't have a pulse. The Doctor's frustrated, saying this should have worked. There's a knock at the door, 4 familiar knocks. Clara goes to answer the door, but the Doctor says he does this alone. The Doctor exits the TARDIS, and outside he finds Ashidihr, what Ashidihr tells him is very tragic, but what she tells him also is very, very interesting. And I do think this is probably going to be Ashidihr's last episode. I don't know if we're ever going to see her again, especially because of the way this episode ends. I don't know if we're going to see her again. But Maisie Williams, once again, another amazing performance. And this is why I love her character. She's just contributed so much to the show. Probably one of the best scenes we've had with Ashidihr. So outside, he finds Ashidihr sitting with a chessboard. Ashidihr tells the Doctor that Clara died billions of years ago by her own choices. It was sad and beautiful, and that they have no right to change who she was. And that's true. She didn't die because, she was willing to face the Raven. Rigsy could have obviously died, but she was the one that wanted to face the Raven. She wanted to go out the way. She wanted to be the heroic one, and the Doctor didn't, and that's why he can't do this. No matter what he can't do, he can't cheat death. He can't change the way something happened. Clara is meant to be dead, and he's changing, and it's going to change everything. Now, the Doctor's disagreeing that, she has a right to live, and that because she was such a heroic person, that she should live, and Ashidihr brings up the hybrid and says it's time to tell the truth. And inside the TARDIS, Clara uses the sonic sunglasses to eavesdrop, and the Doctor theorizes that Ashidihr is the hybrid, half human and half Meyer. And Ashidihr suggests that maybe the Doctor is the hybrid, secretly half Time Lord and half human, says that that would explain why he spends so much time on Earth. And then, this is where it gets extremely interesting. She suggests that maybe the hybrid is 2 people. Clara and the Doctor, which that makes perfect sense on why it would be Clara and the Doctor. Why would Clara and the Doctor always be together? Why would Clara never be able to leave the Doctor? And she points out that it was Missy that was the one that brought them together. And the Doctor reveals his plan to bring Clara back to Earth and wipe his Clara's memory of her using the Time Lord tech. And Ashidihr cautions that this might not be what Clara wants. She might not want that to happen. She might not want him to wipe her memory. Why would Clara want him to wipe her memory? And it's a very powerful scene. We don't really know what's going to happen here. And I love that we found that Missy was the one that brought them together. I know people were a bit disappointed we didn't see Missy in this episode. I think they're just leaving stuff open for next series. They can't end everything in this series because this isn't the end of the series. It's the end of the season, but not the end of the series. You know, this isn't the end of Doctor Who as we know it. So the Doctor brings Ashidihr onto the TARDIS. The Doctor notices that Clara isn't surprised to see Ashidihr for whatever reason, because Clara admits to have watched and listened. Now, the scene that we get with Clara and the Doctor, I thought was just as effective as the scene where Clara sacrificed herself for the Raven, if not more effective. One, we had the same music that played when Clara faced the Raven. I noticed that. But two, it also just seemed inevitable and also is just so beautifully done. I can't really think of a better way for her to go out. I know I said that the way she went out was perfect, but looking back, it was perfect. But the change here, it really made sense to bring her back. You know, I don't think they just did this because, oh, they didn't want to get rid of Jenna Coleman. That's not why I think they brought her back. I think they brought her back because viewers wanted a more satisfying death of Clara. They wanted more closure. We didn't get that closure. The Doctor didn't get that closure. And this is how he finally gets that closure, is in this scene. And it's very effective. I loved it. And Jenna Coleman, one amazing final performance from her. And I loved every minute of it. And I cried. I cried. I did. I found the scene to be even more emotional than the Face the Raven scene, because Face the Raven, that was Clara's choice to die. Here, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if the Doctor's going to wipe his memory, if he's going to wipe hers, if they're both going to forget each other. You're not really sure. So Clara tells him that he revered the polarity of a neutral blocker. The Doctor says he's trying to keep her safe. Clara says she never asked, or that these have been the best years of her life and that she's entitled to keep them. And that makes sense. I mean, Clara's been acting like a doctor. Think of the scene in Face the Raven where she almost falls out of that building and she's completely okay with it. She's not scared, she's laughing, and that she's entitled to keep them. The Doctor thinks for a minute and then admits that she's right now and always, that there's no reason for him to want to do that. And I love what she tells her, that he does not want her, that she does not want him to keep her safe. That's not what she wants him to do. She wants to remember these memories. She wants to remember how great they are in her encounter with the Doctor. She doesn't want to forget. And the Doctor needs to, because let's face it, the Doctor's been through so much. You know, he had to go through 1.5 billion years of being trapped in this confession dial. He lost Clara. He was just on Gallifrey. There's just so much he's had to deal with that that unless he doesn't erase his memory, he'll never be the same way again. Will probably never be the same, you know, will never ever be content with himself. And Clara doesn't want that. Again, Clara wants him to be the Doctor, and the way for him to be the Doctor is to forget her completely. And it's very sad, and I can understand people thought this was a really easy way out, but I found it to be a lot more effective. I mean, this is what Clara wants for the Doctor. She wants him to be happy. She wants him to be that happy, lively Doctor that he is, and the only way to do that is for him to forget her completely. So the Doctor thinks for a minute. The Doctor says he's not sure what she did to the neural blocker, but that one of them has to go. They both take hold of the neural blocker. They press the button together. A moment later, it drops from the Doctor's hands, and he drops to his knees. He gives her the last advice he can before falling over, and he tells her, be brave, be strong. It's really great advice. Clara says she didn't mean for this to happen, but the Doctor accepts that he went too far, that he made some mistakes, he tried to change the rules, and that he simply deserves to go. It's very sad, but honestly, I understand what the Doctor's trying to say. You know, he's saying, I deserve to go. I deserve to go out. I made myself go out. I'm the one that did this. He finally passes out, and basically, he then wakes up in a desert, unsure of how he got there. A man stands over him. The man says that Clara asked him to watch over the Doctor, and the Doctor has no idea who Clara is. And then we realize what that diner scene is all about. This diner scene is not about you know, the Doctor knowing Clara and she not knowing him. This is that he's telling a story about a girl that he doesn't even know. So he finishes his tale telling Clara of how you can recreate something that's missing by examining the space it left. And I love what he says. He says he remembers their adventures and has her name, but doesn't know what she looks like, how she felt, her mannerisms, nothing like that. All he remembers is stories. That's all he remembers. And Clara says she could be anyone, even her. The Doctor says he's positive that if he met her again, he would know. And Clara's trying to hide her tears because it's her, and he's not recognizing her. So truly, he's never probably going to remember her ever again. And as about the TARDIS, the doctor says he hasn't been able to find it. It was moved from London. Clara exits the diner's back door into the TARDIS from Gallifrey, where Ashidihr is waiting. They take off together. The diner disappears, leaving the doctor's TARDIS behind, and Clara's now going to be her own doctor, and honestly, that makes a lot of sense, because Clara, like I said, acted like a doctor. She's basically been the doctor when the doctor's been the doctor. There have been times where Clara acted more like a doctor than the doctor did, and that totally makes sense why we saw that here. It was a very powerful scene. Seeing Clara and Ashidihr being her companion and Clara being the doctor is very interesting, and I'm kind of wondering if we're ever going to see a follow-up to that, because that definitely is very interesting, and I loved that conclusion. That was just perfect. And if you guys didn't know, that was the first TARDIS ever that they ever used. And Ashidihr says the chameleon circuit is stuck, that their TARDIS may be stuck as a diner forever. Clara says she's still stuck between heartbeats, which means her death is still a fixed point in time, and that no one will ever know that she's alive. She's still supposed to be dead, but she's not, and she figures the Time Lords can send her back, so they head for Gallifrey the long way around, and basically, she's going to go back to her death. She's going to make sure that she's dead, because she shouldn't be alive, and she doesn't want to be alive. And this really proves the Doctor's never going to meet up with Clara again. It's really sad, but I think it really goes with Clara's character. Clara would not want the Doctor to have to ever meet her again, because that would just be too hard for him. He would know that there's this person that he's known but doesn't know now, and that would just be too hard for the Doctor. He doesn't want him to have to go through that. So then the ending of this episode was truly something great, and is the perfect way to continue this series. The Doctor enters the TARDIS, he finds a message on the chalkboard, "Run, you clever boy, and be a doctor," which clearly was left by Clara, because that's what she would want him to do. There's a velvet coat waiting from a new sonic screwdriver. The sonic sunglasses are done. He doesn't need those anymore. I like the sonic screwdrivers back. It feels like this is a new Doctor, honestly. It feels like, even though the Doctor's not new, it feels like he regenerated. And this new sonic screwdriver pops out of the TARDIS console. The Doctor snaps the TARDIS door closed. The TARDIS takes off, crossing the other in the size of space, and that's how the episode ends, and this series, and the season ends. So overall, guys, an amazing, amazing finale. There's so much I loved about it, and really just, I think, was a brilliant conclusion to a brilliant season. Overall, this was a perfect season. There is a lot I do want to discuss, though. Will the Doctor ever get those memories back with Clara? The only thing he could have remembered of her, that picture, came off of the TARDIS, and I think Clara did that intentionally. The graffiti picture, obviously, it's supposed to be stuck to the TARDIS, but I think Clara made it so that would not stay there, because she doesn't want the Doctor to remember her. And it's really sad, but I think it does make sense, because in order for the Doctor to stay happy, he can't have this death on him. You know, if he were to stay alive, he would just not be the same Doctor. He'd be upset all the time, he'd have breakdowns, he'd probably cry a lot. I mean, it would not be the same man. It would just be really hard for him to go on, knowing that his companion's dead. You know that would be really hard for the Doctor, and I think the Doctor himself even knows that, and that's why this is so sad, but honestly is really inevitable. The Doctor is going to be the same man, even though he feels like I said, he does feel like a new Doctor. He feels like he's kind of regenerated. Even though he's the same Doctor we've known, it does feel like he's a new Doctor, and I really did like seeing that. Ashidihr, I don't think is going to die like Clara is. I think Ashidihr, I don't know what's going to happen with her, but I feel like we are going to see her again. They did leave it open, so I kind of feel like Ashidihr will take over for Clara and will be like her own sort of doctor in a way. You know, I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen there. Maybe she'll even meet up with Missy, because we still know that Missy has a plan and we just don't know what it is yet, so we'll have to see what that is, because that definitely is going to be interesting. Will the Doctor ever revisit Gallifrey? I'm not really sure, but we do know that the way to go back is to go to Gallifrey, so there is that chance that the Doctor could always go back to Gallifrey, but I don't think that's ever going to happen, because I don't think Stephen Moffat would really tease something like that. That'd be really stupid and tedious. If this episode would be extremely tedious if that happened. I would be really upset if they did that. At the end of the day, guys, though, this season really made me love the show even more. I really love Doctor Who. I did. I thought it was a fun show, but this made it go from a fun show to a really deep, highly emotional, complex series, and I love that. It's made it so much more interesting. It deepened the characters of the Doctor and Clara. I loved their relationship on this show. I'll never forget it. You know, Clara was my first companion on the show that I ever saw, and I heard your first companion is always the one you feel the most compassion for. It's like your first Doctor is the one you always see the most as the Doctor, and that's what I'm going to feel when Peter Capaldi leaves. I don't know when he's going to leave. I feel like he's going to leave next series. I'm not really sure, though. The Christmas special, they did show in a promo for it. I'm probably going to review it. It looks like a fun episode, not really much to say about, but I want that. I kind of want next season to be a lot more fun because of how dark and because of how depressing this season was. Now, it was fun. I will definitely say that. This season was a lot of fun, mainly because of the Doctor and just the way he acted and his wit. You know, the one thing the Doctor never got away from was his wit, the way he always acted, and things like that. In fact, even when he was on Gallifrey, he's like, "Don't take any selfies." I thought that was a great line. I love that he said that. It's going to be really interesting to see what the Doctor has. He still has that guitar, so he will always have that guitar. I think that's going to be awesome to see what happens. Who's the new companion going to be? That's the big question. They haven't shown the new companion, and we don't know when we're going to get introduced to the new companion. I don't know if it's going to be the Christmas special. Some people are speculating maybe River Song, but I think that'd be really stupid if they did that. If River Song was the companion. I want the companion. They already said the companion is going to be another young woman, and that'll be interesting to see who it is. I know a lot of people didn't like Clara, which I don't understand why you didn't like Clara. I mean, yeah, maybe she should have left last season, but I think it worked very well that she was on here. Just a more effective way for her to go. Because remember, if she were to leave last series, it would have ended with her just leaving town and not wanting to be with the Doctor. And what this season proved is that she needs to be with the Doctor because that's when she's happy. She's happy when she's with the Doctor. She wants that fun, exciting life. And now she knows she has to die, and that's how she ends her life, is realizing that she has to die, realizing that no matter what happens, at the end of the day, she can't change her death, and that she needs to die. And I like that Clara realized that in her final moments. It was really a powerful scene in that regard. I really loved everything that happened in this episode. Just amazing cinematography, amazing to see Gallifrey as well. This entire season has been great, minus that weird Sleep No More episode. Other than that, this has been a near perfect season. I've loved every minute of it. I can't believe it's over. It's gone by that fast, guys. I mean, I can't believe this season started back in August, and now it's over. It really feels like the first episode just happened. But really an amazing season overall. I've loved every minute of it. I have loved reviewing it for you guys. Like I said, I think it's been a much better season last year. Not that last year was bad, it's just last year didn't have the emotional complexity or the fun that this season had. We didn't have a Doctor like we did this year's, and I really feel like the Doctor might even be a bit different next year because now he's lost his memory. So I do feel he might be a bit different. He still does have that wit, of course, that he'll always have, but I don't really know the Doctor's going to be next season, but we'll have to see. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode overall. I thought this was an amazing, terrifically satisfying finale. Did you like the way that Clara went out? I thought it was perfect the way that she went out. Did you like seeing Gallifrey again? I understand some people were disappointed that we didn't see enough of Gallifrey. I thought we saw all we need to see of it. You know, the Doctor only went there to figure out what was going on with him and figure out how to get back to Clara. That was his main mission, was to figure out to get back to Clara. That's really what it was all about, and I like finding that out. The twists this season were amazing. Everything they did. Having two-parters was just a great decision. I hope they continue to do that next season because that really is what made this so good, is having them split episodes into 2 or 3 parts because it got us attached to characters that we normally wouldn't be as attached to. I don't think I'd be nearly as attached to Ashidihr if they hadn't shown her as much as they did this season. I mean, she really felt like she was an essential part of this season, and I love that. But let me know what you thought of this season finale overall. I loved every minute of it. Are you looking forward to Christmas special? I can't wait for the Christmas special, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for Supergirl, and I will see you guys for that. I know I'm behind on Supergirl, but I will review that, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.